need to think for a second, like, why didn't I review this show when it was coming out week to week? Like, why didn't I? I should have listened to George. I should have forked over that Amazon Prime money. I really should have. Oh, hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Two, where it's our show where we review things in the world of television, which normally include episode by episode reviews, season by season reviews, and doing these quick impressions. Today, we're talking about Invincible. Oh my god, why the heck did I not listen to my normal co-host of many, many things? It's just George here about doing a week-to-week review for Invincible. I'm like, why didn't we do that? That was, oh my god. I was like, damn. But here we go. A year late. What can I do? So Invincible, I finally watched it since I bought Amazon Prime to watch The Boys. So I was like, you know what? I heard I've heard of The Boys, I've heard of Invincible, I've heard of many great things that Amazon Prime does have to offer as a network. So I was like, once I finished up The Boys, and I did another show in between called Ballers, because I didn't want to overdo the Amazon Prime load, I decided to get into Invincible afterward. And for one season alone, I'm like, this might be one of the best adaptations I've ever seen from comics. Even though I've never read the comics, I never have. But similar to My Hero, where I never read the manga, so I was like, the pace. This is a really great show. This is how shows should be done properly. How adaptation should be done properly. Where you get back in the olden day, where everyone was like, this is super popular. Let's make a movie. Let's condense this extremely long storytelling device and condense it to a 2-hour picture. And see if that works. Because movies, you got the budget, you can get the actors you want, you can get anything, you can get the big Hollywood treatment. But that's not how it is anymore. It really hasn't. Times have changed. I want to say The Walking Dead, ironically, another Robert Kirkman show. Robert Kirkman being the creator of both the Invincible comics and partially of the show. I know for that one, I was very, very aware of the fact that, there was. The Walking Dead was a comic book series. It could have been a movie. It really could have been. I could easily have seen that to be a movie series. But no, they decided to do a TV show, and it worked for the most part. Let's say that. We'll not get back into Walking Dead anytime soon right now. But for Invincible, for The Walking Dead, it introduced the concept of you could tell really good stories with great actors on the on the small screen. Instead, you don't have to do everything big screen just because it's a big popular IP. It doesn't entirely mean always it's got to be a big movie. It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't. Yes, for Joe, My Hero Academia is getting a live action movie at some point by Universal. There's been no updates on that project. I'm just saying. But they instead did the anime because that's just your logical shonen manga adaptation. You just get an anime after a couple years on publication. That's just how it works. So for Invincible, I've heard long time ago they were making a movie of it. I was like, sounds cool. I'm not entirely interested in Invincible, but I'm like, you know what, Seth Rogen, I trust him. I do like him a lot as a comedy actor and as a writer too. And having seen The Boys, I was like, well, Boys and now are kind of I could have easily seen them make a movie, and they are still working on the movie, by the way. They very much still are. But when they announced, no, we're gonna do an anime series too, and I was like, the big first mouth dropping thing that I noticed was that the freaking voice cat. And I was like, bruh, you did not have to go so hard on this cast. It's like, I spoke about this a few years ago, that I want to start watching things that I have no interest in terms of the IP or the source material, but because the cast is so strong and just the backdrop of it. For example, my most recent example was Tick Tick Boom. I watched that movie on Netflix because I love Daniel Garfield. I really do. He's an amazing Spider-Man, and I'm no pun intended, but I love him. I really do love him. Vanessa Hudgens was there. The woman from the X-Men prequels, Storm, was there, and I just love musicals. So I was like, you know what? I have no idea who Jonathan Larson is, but I like musicals. I like these actors. I'm gonna go see it, and I enjoyed the movie. I really liked it. So that sort of thing, sometimes it doesn't have to be a big source material like Marvel or DC or just some really big, well-known big name brand to just sell the property. It doesn't take that. Sometimes you could just have an amazing cast of people behind it, and that's enough to entice you to watch the show. The Boys never cared about the IP. The cast was like, all right. I didn't really know much of them, just Carl Urban and a couple of handful of recurrents, but that was basically it. I just was curious about the source material. It's like one of those, like, there's multiple avenues how to promote the show to how to get people like me to watch it. Invincible mainly was because George, my one of my best friends, my co-host, was telling me like how amazing the show was, and then also for me how stacked the cast list was. It really was. I think 90% of all the characters on the show was voiced by someone I've either seen at some point, heard at some point, and I was really, really surprised, and I could be wrong, that Tara Strong has no involvement in the show. Like, of all things, like, Tara Strong is not involved in the show. Maybe she is, and I didn't really notice. One of the cool things about Amazon Prime, you can just hover over and you'll see which actor it is, and then you'll see what they've done. So I'm like, I don't think I've seen her at any point during the cast list, which is surprising. But so for me, like, for Invincible, it kind of completes this weird trilogy in my mindset where of superheroes in a new way. Where, yeah, the superhero genre has become very overdrawn. It's become very, very not oversaturated, but it's getting to that saturation where like there's so much superhero content in a year, both in film and now TV show wise, that it becomes a little bit like formulaic about like how you approach things. Like it's very hard to make the genre fresh nowadays because what new spin, what new direction could you take it in? My Hero Academia thrown me into a world of superheroes, in a world of like heroics are a profession. The Boys focuses on much more of the greedy corporate side, where like, yeah, there are superheroes, but however, corporations mainly use that as a tool to make even more money than themselves, and you get into like some of the shadier aspects of it and the more grittier aspects of it. Invincible is kind of like the perfect marriage of the two. Where even though, like, yes, the creative team behind The Boys is involved in Invincible because of Seth Rogen, and yes, My Hero is not related to these two projects at all. But for me, I definitely felt like some sort of Kenny where like they're throwing us into a world of superheroes, but they're doing something different with it. I think Invincible might be the last case where like this is different. This really much is where it's like it is. It is a little bit more common. It's more akin to, I want to say, The Boys, or it's for me, it's a matter where it's like they don't show you the corporate side of things, but they show you like there's a lot of fucked up shit heroes still do behind the scenes. Especially this focuses more on teenagers and young adult superheroes. And where was I gonna go with that? Where was I? They parody so much of what we know from Marvel or DC. But they do something different with that. They really do. And I love some of the directions they go in where it's like, it feels like a traditional superhero show, but then at times you kind of get thrown to the loop side, let's say. And one of the things that that again kept me going was, of course, the amazing voice cast. That, you know, again, I going into this, I knew nothing about the source material. I knew nothing of where these characters came from, where they're going. I'm like, I'm gonna let the show speak for itself. And I just got hooked by the first episode. Like, this was also another one of the first. I'd never seen an hour-long animated show. I never had. It never popped up. Like, no one had ever made it before. I think it is the first animated show to have hour-long episodes. Well, 44-minute episodes, let's say. It's the first. And I was like, damn. Another surprising factor is that at the end of the season, when I finished watching, I was like, how many issues did this cover in the comic? And it's like 13. Like, bro, My Hero does 25 episodes, and those are half hour long, and they can breeze for maybe 50 chapters, 52 chapters per season. Here, you're like, oh no, we did 13 out of 144, or out of 140, or around the 140 mark. I was like, damn, I was not expecting. I was expecting like we went higher, like. But this was different. It did something that I always mention when I talk about My Hero. It's like, My Hero is, in terms of the anime, a little bit behind the manga, but they're able to like take what the manga has done so far and start seeding that in earlier on in the anime to make a bigger impact when you do get to the real moment down the line. That was the advantage there. Invincible has the advantage of the whole show's done. Well, the whole comics is done. Like, the entire run is over. It's completed the story, so now they can start doing however they want with the story, because like, okay, we know about this plot point, we know about this plot point, we can set it up even earlier and then have it come back and pay off in a bigger way. That's the stuff I like. That's the stuff like I really can't wait to see what Invincible Season 2 will be like when it does come back. Eventually, like we don't know. I mean, considering now that I've seen the quality of it, in terms of the writing and everything. I was like, yeah, I take all the time you need. Like, we'll get season 2 and season 3 whenever they're ready. Like, I'm in no rush. But another thing, but I do have to make a note of this. I do have to. It's not a criticism. Well, it is a criticism. I think I mostly classify it as a nitpick. Where for a 44-minute animated show, I was like, okay, there has to be some iffy animation moments at some point, and there are. I can't really judge that. Like, there just is, and I'm just like, I'm not surprised considering the fact, yeah, you have double the episode length than a normal anime show, and you have to do all these 8-hour episodes. Like, yeah, I'm not surprised if some of the animation is a little murky. And what is the classification of a murky animation? Like, if you're an actual animator, like, you would probably be like, well, they are under a time crunch, or like they did the very best they could. Like, I do get that, I really do. And just to speak of it, this is a really, really amazing show. This really, I am not trying to smirk it, but it's just like, not everything can be perfect. It just isn't. There's always going to be a couple things that are off about in the final product that you really can't, it's something that's just non-avoidable. It's just not. So going into it, it's like, I will admit that a little bit of the pacing is a bit off at times. Like, it kind of felt a little weird. Like, again, this is quick impressions. I'm trying not to spoil anything, so there will be no spoilers for Invincible. I will mention that there was a couple of things where, like, when they introduced like this plot point, and then they don't really like, they tackle it on, but they don't really tackle it on, like, in terms of like the typical way I would expect it. And then when you eventually does come back, it's like, well, this was a while ago. Like, I know, like, this is gonna take a while to figure out, but like, it kind of was a while ago. So it's like, I don't know, like, it's just stuff I'm not used to per se. And then sometimes, like, stuff that I'm not used to is a good thing for the story. It thrills me to get even more involved in the story, where like one of the big mysteries of everything, and like of the whole series about how the how episode 1 ends, and then how you get to the last episode. Like, it was a journey to get there to that moment. The only other issue that I had with the series is that this is also focusing on a very young Mark, aka Invincible, and and he's a teenager. He's a senior in high school. So you got that typical teenage romance, teenage drama. It's not always handled the best, in my opinion. I think that was one of the weaker aspects of the show, where it's just cliche teen drama just for the sake of teen drama. They do mature it a little bit more than other shows, so I won't say it's not a big criticism. That's why I'm calling it a nitpick, but it is still prevalent there. Like, well, you could have done something different with it a little bit more, so you really could. Another nitpick I had was just the amount of teams there were. I guess it's the Young Justice Outsiders issue, where it's like you have and I guess this is not spoiler, I'm just mentioning references, where in Young Justice you have the Justice League, and then Young Justice you have, well, Young Justice, but they call themselves the Team, and then you have the Outsiders, then you have these other sub-teams where it's like, Jesus Christ, there's just so many teams by this point, so it's like, who's the real big shot team? And it's like, well, what's the purpose, like, of these teams? Like, I know under different leadership, but I'm like, well, who's funding all this thing? I know some of them is government owned, which I'm like, okay, how does the government side of the thing? But we don't really get to talk about that a little bit too into depth. Like, I like knowing about the different aspects of the sides we're playing on in this, good versus evil fight. It really is. Sorry, I was like thinking about, like, was there any other nitpicks that I have to mention? But like, honestly, no. Like, there really is not that many other nitpicks to mention for the show, because just the show itself as a story was intriguing. Where like it felt like a My Hero program, like, we get a newcomer hero come to the scene, and then he starts to learn the harsh realities of being a superhero in like a different sort of way, where it's like, you get the typical, like, certain life avenues you used to enjoy before you were a superhero are even more difficult to balance, and then there's just some that just completely go away, or there's just some new ones that come up, and then it questions you a bit. It questions your sense of, is this the right path to be doing, per se. I will say, like, again, like, the amount of voice actors they get, like, you got Mahershala Ali, Ezra Miller, Seth Rogen's in there too. You can't really have that as well. A lot of the Walking Dead alum were there too. Kyrie Payton, he's one of the guys from Close Enough, and it's like he's the only thing I know him from. The Dick Back guy from Ant-Man the Wasp. Like, there's just so many, and you have J.K. Simmons that voices like another one. Like, this is like the second superhero show I watched in a row. It's like the big superhero that we expect to be the main superhero of the show is just not what you expect to be. And it's like, I should be sick of this already, but I'm not. It's like the third time I've seen it in like 6 months, but I'm not sick of it. I'm not. It's like, it's different. It's, you know, that, you know, even the strongest of us is not the best. And, you know, sometimes the people you don't expect to be the best are in fact the best. But they end season one in a perfect word. It's like, it's a natural build up to what this story was trying to paint. But however, I never got discouraged that this is how the show ends. Because I can't spoil it, but if you have seen the memes online, you can obviously predict what I'm talking about. But it does keep things moving in an interesting way where it's like, I believe this character director, or I believe this mode, or I believe this decision. I believe it because that's the way the story sets it up so far. It becomes a tragedy at the end. It really does, because it goes to a picture of, you never really know anyone. You really don't. You don't know someone fully until they reveal their true colors. And by the time that happens, you get the most hurt because you were expecting this certain thing about a person, and then instead you got this certain thing about the person. And it sucks. It really, really does suck. But it keeps the story interesting, keeps things refreshed, and it keeps things moving for the characters, so that when they do move into the next story, the next chapter, it's more like, oh God, what are they gonna throw at them next? Like, I was always here like, if they fit so much of this in season one, I'm going to be surprised on what they're gonna do for season 2 or season 3. Like, obviously, of course, people who read the comics already know what the heck is gonna happen next. It's just something like the My Hero Academia audience, where like the manga readers are always posting whenever a new season trailer comes, like, oh my God, animes only are gonna expect this arc next. I'm like, it's the same thing. Like, I honestly cannot wait for Invincible Season 2. I really, really can't. I'm on the edge of my seat. Season 1 is a very great example of a blueprint of how to do an animated adaptation justice, and that was George's words, not mine. I just took it and ran with it. I really did. This was an amazing show. It really was. It was not perfect, but it was amazing. And especially, like, they did not have to give us 8 episodes of 45 minutes each. They did not, but they did. It worked. And hopefully that same TLC is going to continue throughout the remaining run of the show. How many seasons it could be, who freaking knows? I just want to see where the story is going to end up. And it's only, this journey is only the beginning. Like, this has been a very whirlwind of 8 episodes to watch. It felt like so much of a main storyline for any sort of, you know, story arc in general. But no, this is only the beginning. It's like, and you know everything about escalation, it's only going to get bigger from here. So I'm like, how do you top that? Like, these moments in season 1, how do you top it? And I have my predictions, I have my expectations, but like, you know what? I'm going to wait till the show comes out with season 2, and I'm going to see what it's all about, because I trust the writers, I trust the creative people behind it, I trust basically anyone who's making the show to, like, they're going to do a great job. We just need to give them the time and the faith they will. I say let them take as long as they can for season 2. If it comes out in 2023, 2024, I don't care. As long as you keep making it the same quality or even better, that's all I care about. And I can't wait to see when Invincible does come back from the run. Maybe we'll do a week to week next summer around. Who knows? Like, I definitely missed the bandwagon. I would have loved to talk about this more into detail with my normal co-hosts. I would really love to, but it's sadly not in the cards right now, but hopefully one day we will. But we'll see when that all comes about. But for me, overall, I really enjoyed Invincible Season 1. It's an amazing season. It's an amazing show so far. I cannot wait to see one more crazy shenanigans, one more crazy cast member, where the story's going to go next for me. I cannot wait to see what's next. I really can't. And I'm just going to keep waiting. But, of course, obviously, we're in the world of, like, everything popular is superhero related. So we will get tons of more superhero stuff until then. But Invincible Season 2 is where some of my hype is going to. I can't wait to see how they're going to continue that story and how inevitably that will conclude at some point in the very distant future. So for me, I'm going to give this, like, my highest recommendation. Go binge it right now. All 8 episodes so far is on Amazon Prime, so go check it out then. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Invincible? Let's talk about it. Let's have that conversation about it. I'm still beginning my talks with George about it, so I want to talk to as many people as I can, so let me know in the comments. So there you go. But if you're unaware, this has been What's the 2 from ActionX. Talking about Invincible. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next review is live. Please also like, favorite, share this review if you want to. Please also ring the bell. Please also follow us on social media to stay up to date with any updates we may have for the channels. But until then, thank you so much for watching. But until we see each other again in the future, please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.